My name is Vathani Navasothy. I represent Eating Disorder Clinics, Awakening Dawn, and Bulimia Hope. Those of you listening to this as a record, you should be able to access the PowerPoint slides. If you've got a question about your coping strategies, about any of your recovery questions, about your specific functions or an event that you have to go to that you're panicking about, email me your question and I should be able to answer it for you. We often think about Christmas as a time of, celebration, a joyful moment of coming together, lots of parties, happy events. But if you happen to be somebody who has a eating complexity or eating difficulties, or indeed you have something like anorexia or bulimia, or you suffer from binge eating difficulties, then this time is a nightmare. So now I'm going to actually take some questions, moving on to the first questions. Okay. Pippa from Suffolk, your question is that I have bulimia and I just wondered if there's a way, if there are tips to control it over Christmas, please. I'm desperately trying to stop and become healthy. Well, Pippa, your first step is already underway, and that is your decision. It's simply your decision to get better and to recover, because I've been part of this world for 21 years. So I say that as a first step to any recovery is that your decision. A lot of people are still sitting halfway battling between wanting to recover and not wanting to recover. So a lot of the time is the decision that is so important. And then some of the tactics that I've already talked about, like the number game, like practicing the happiness equation, like realigning yourself with the balance chart to re-engage to see where you need to push back to see, where you need to improve yourself. These will become, and the self-care, these will become such an important part of your strategy. So I hope that answers your question. I think a lot of these things I've already covered, so I really want you to take on board some of these. Okay? Jazz from Redbridge, I'm going to answer your question. I know you can't make this live call, but I'm going to, for the benefit of you and others listening to the recall, I'm going to just cover some questions you want to ask. And your thing is, you have different theory every day, so you fluctuate between thinking one way or to another every day. And this morning, you were thinking that for Alcoholics Anonymous, they have to sustain from abstinence completely from alcohol. I know you cannot do that for food. Of course you can't, because you are part and parcel of that world where we cannot do without food. So unlike other things where we can do without, food is one thing we just have to regulate it. And your question, Jazz, is that because of your weakness and your triggers are sweet things like chocolate, cake, sweet biscuits, you're worried about, in November you just gave them up. You completely gave them up, and it wasn't such a big difficult thing for you. But now going to binge, compulsively eat, and on other things. So it's basically your binge eating has transferred to other food because you restricted it one way. It exploded in another way. My strategy would be to go back to that number game. The number game allows you to regulate it and not somehow build up this euphoric thing about one food or another, same way you're not going into this abstinent mindset, because if you restrict it, it's an all or nothing game you're playing. If you absolutely go into binging, you're going into that floodgate of things. But if you start to moderate and tame down the craving, but develop that inner resilience, that is far, far better way of coping with it. It won't all be easy at first, but persevere with that number game, Jazz. Okay? It is a compulsion. It is a past programming, but you can do it, and you don't have to just, pass it over to other things like, peanuts and breads and what have you. You do not. You can exercise your mind power by simply regulating every day, gathering momentum, gathering in your mindset, gathering in your willpower. Slowly, slowly, you will get that inner control. Okay? So that might be a lovely way of looking at it. And don't ever look at a food and think that's an evil food or a bad food. Stop labeling them as that. And I think that goes double for a lot of you, because it's just food. Just view it as food. Pleasurable, enjoyable. It provides you nourishment. It's going to keep you safe. It's an absolute essential part of our life. But not to be viewed as something devilish or evil or bad, because then we are putting our own little meaning to it. The more we polarize it, the harder it will look to rebalance it. So I hope that helps you. Now, we've got a question from Gina from London. Your question is, how can you stop yourself from buying chocolate and cake simply to vomit them up again? It's like an urge I can't get rid of, and it's all-consuming. Also, would hypnosis work as a means to stop myself from eating too much? Yes, of course it will. But I think one of the things that I would say, Georgina, is that don't dive straight into hypnosis, because a lot of people go to hypnosis, and one of the things that they don't necessarily do is understand your inner triggers. In a therapy setting, a therapist has more room to understand your personal triggers, your personal vulnerabilities, your personal fingerprint makeup as to where your predisposition comes from. Hypnotherapists will go straight into hypnosis application, and they won't necessarily give you a tool or a set of understanding and a connection for the brain to compute why it needs to embrace a moderation game or a nice, safe mid-part of all rather than all or nothing. Now, in terms of buying, where you are intentionally buying chocolate with a pure intention to go and blow it afterwards in a purging exercise, simply go out there with the intention to buy, but limit. Again, it's the number game. What you then do is simply say, okay, if it's a slab of chocolate, remember you've chosen a number for this week, and the number might be 8. It doesn't matter. You permit yourself 8 little cubes of those chocolates. If it's cake, now it's going to be difficult because, if you've got a whole cake in front of you, you can't do the whole, how do I do 8 slices? That would be still too much. I suggest 8 bites. 8 ampleful, satisfying, gratifying, inner child pleasing, bite-sized, cake mouthfuls, but 8 of those. Next week, it will be different because it will be 6, not 8. The following week, it will be 4, manageable 4, not too much, because you're training yourself to get into the mindset that you can do this and that you have an inner control about it, but without depriving that inner child. So important that you do not deprive that inner child on any level, Jazz. I hope that makes sense. And you've also asked, bulimia is the only way you have ever seem to lose weight, no matter how much exercise or healthy eating. Well, that may be the reality for you now, but with that limitation, because one of the things that I find why people struggle to stabilize their weight or even lose weight when they are bulimic is because of the amount of calories that still escapes them. It still seeps through all the binges and purges. And one of the worst things you're doing there is you're offsetting your sugar insulin level, which means the moment the surge of sugary food comes into your physiological system and they go surging through the blood-brain barriers, they create a sense of urgency and an immediacy, and you're programming yourself to that climatized way. And so over time, this becomes your normality. And what doesn't get used also gets stored, don't forget, as fat. So one of the things is that purging may take out the food that you've consumed, but the calories are still going through. The calories are constantly sustaining you for normal everyday activities. You might not think so. You might think, oh, well, I'm eating all the other food as well. But it's the instant simplified sugar that is actually coming from the binges that's actually sustaining you for activities that you will otherwise be restricting normal food with. I hope that explains. Now, you've also posed another question. When I last stopped vomiting, my stomach swelled up for about 3 weeks. Wow, that's usually very it's not the typical reaction. About 3 weeks. If I stop again, is there a way to stop this happening? It's about slow release of that binging and purging behavior. You can't go cold turkey. Because of your sensitivity, I'm guessing, because of the way your stomach did swell up, we need to kind of check that as not your own heightened awareness and hyper paranoia. It is something that actually visibly seeable. Like, for example, if there's a person that you trust explicitly in the house, if you could ask them, look, is this stomach looking very swollen to you compared to how it was? At least you have a sense of a normality of somebody else's perception coming into it to just kind of validate what you yourself think, because otherwise we are entering into our own paranoia, and we might be over-engrossingly projecting what we think it is and not necessarily what it is. But once you establish that stomach was actually very swollen, it just simply indicates that you've got a very heightened oversensitivity about your stomach, and it may be a couple of factors. I mean, it could be the damaged stomach lining that might have had a very adverse reaction to the food that came about, or the adverse acidity that was forming, or it could be simply that there's a lot of gastric juice that was actually churning around. And when you stop vomiting, it's obviously as a way of compensation behavior. Your body was just literally going into an over production of that thing. This isn't necessarily normal, but I think it may depend a lot on what you ate, how quickly you ate, the kind of stomach lining damages that you already done to beforehand. A lot of things will depend on this. So there is quite a lot. There's quite a lot that will affect it. Okay? All right. Next question is, you're still here, no longer on Skype, and I'm on the web. Oh, okay. So you've gone over to the Skype. You're just listening to it via the webcast. Okay. At least you can all of you listening to it will get a recording of this, so not to worry. I just didn't want to advertise it in a big way. I just wanted the immediate people to benefit from this, and I will make it available to all of you for the next sort of 48 hours. So listen, please, in your own time. And if there's a question that I haven't managed to answer, please contact me, email me, and I will directly answer that question, okay? Because we are coming to the 9:20, so I'm mindful that I will finish at 9:30. So next 10 minutes, I will take as many questions as possible. Okay, so do keep posting, do keep listening, and do listen to it in your replay if you want to. And if I don't address any questions that you want to ask absolutely urgently, then I will do so by privately emailing you. Okay, as long as you give me your email address and let me know this is the question you want me to answer, I will answer it. Okay, another question. How do I deal with difficult family members who make personal negative comments to me when they have an audience? Right. So I'm guessing this person has a little bit of a tendency to show off in front of other people, as if almost like a personal ego trip maybe, or that they are completely insensitive to what they're doing. It may be one of those aspects really. But what I would say is, this will depend a lot on your courage. Go back, and I absolutely encourage you to go back to that slide that I showed about Bill of Rights. Do you remember that one? It's about your ability to convince your own self about your own worth, your own desires, your own ability to say yes or no. If somebody is purposefully putting you down, don't take it lying down. You can challenge it. You can change it. You can question it. You can say, hang on, I deserve the right to be treated with respect. Please do not talk to me that way. If it's definitely a put down, you can say, look, home in on the negative comments. What are they saying? Are they making a general sweeping statement? For example, if they're saying, oh my God, look at that top you're wearing today. Did you have to wear that today? You simply say, I felt like wearing this. I'm actually happy wearing this. No justification, no explanation necessary. You don't owe them. Simply hold on to your power. Simply hold on to your sense of you and what you like. If it makes number one happy, then it's all good and well. You don't need to bow down to that negative statement. Whenever you possibly can, also be reminding of yourself, just go back to that happiness equation. What did I say? Connect to everybody else that is actually good and nice to you. Connect to that fun that you're having in the moment. Forget this person. Ignore this person. Don't give so much power away to this person who's always going to be saying like negative things. If anything, if you feel courageous enough, if you feel assertive enough, you feel, you're able to find your voice and your power, pull them to a side and say, look, I know you say things that are very negative, and I do hear them as negative. Can I ask that you do not do this? Set the scene. State your power back. Claim that position back. Let them know that you're no longer standing for this kind of insults or negative way of, it's ruining it for you, ruining possibly for other people. They may be cringing from their seats too. It will be important to know who this family member is. It might be your inner circle. It might be your very loved one that is actually doing this to you. Maybe they're so ignorant and naive to the fact that this has this much of effect on you. Maybe all you need to do is simply point out whatever they say, and whenever it's a negative statement, it actually has a negative and a very profound effect on you. Maybe just them knowing that, especially in front of those people. Maybe they're just playing it up. Maybe they're just bigging themselves up in front of the audience, in which case you simply assert yourself. I chose to wear this top because I felt like it. That's it. More of a assertive stance for your own self. Mail me, email me privately, and I will teach you. I mean, if you give me a bit more details about who this person is and the dynamic, it will help me tailor-make the response a little bit better so I can coach you a little bit better. So go ahead and just email me if you can. Not on this box, but email me privately, either info@awakeningdawn.com or vathani@bulimiahope.com. One of those emails will get to me. Just email me the dynamics and the what is it you're specifically worried about, and I'll try and answer that very specifically. Okay? Pippa, you've also posted another question. Do you have any tips to stay healthy over Christmas period? Oh, I think I've already answered that. You've said that you spend a lot of your time your head down the toilet. Okay, so it is literally about self-care. A lot of it is going to be you claiming yourself back, you needing to be in a good place to damage control that negative part of vicious cycle that you're entering into, and just quickly turn it back. Turn it back so that you're able to quickly and effectively, mindfully retreat to a self-care routine. Simply, quickly draw up something nice, distract yourself and call a friend, get into a lovely upbeat song CD that you can play to just shift that mindset of a negative place to a positive place. Surround yourself with love, self-care, treat yourself. If money is no object, I don't mean become a compulsive addict to money as well and the buzz it creates through treats, but small things, little things you can buy and create for yourself. They don't have to be anything expensive. Damage control it by that. I think I need to understand your inner triggers far more so I can actually tailor-make that, because it's a big statement to make when you are in a bulimic and then you need strategies. It's a big, vast strategies galore that we have up our sleeves, but I need to understand your inner workings, inner vulnerabilities, inner triggers to answer that question a bit more justifiably, okay? Pippa, so go ahead and email me the details, and I will respond to you personally, all right? Okay. Jazz, I have actually answered one of your questions that you posted on Facebook for me already, by the way, so do listen to it. I hope you managed to catch that, but if you haven't, replay it and be able to hear it. So you just basically, you would refrain from trigger foods. I would say you have to desensitize yourself from viewing your trigger food as trigger food, because you need to normalize them. Normalize them by simply allowing them to be part of your everyday eating program, so the trigger, the anxiety, it rides out the wave. It's something that you condition and retrain yourself to be okay with. So it normalizes it. You get the number down so that it becomes such a controllable amount. It's not excessive, it's not undernourished, it's not avoidance, but somewhere in between where it feels just right for you. Go back to the bit where I explained about how to apply that number game strategy. That's one of the best things you can do for that kind of thing. Okay? Well, I'm going to just wrap up and finish this, guys. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you making the time to join me, and if you're listening to it on the webcast as a replay, again, I thank you for making the time, and I hope it's been useful, because I know I've sort of zoomed through some of the strategies, and there's so much more strategies, but I think this is just an introduction to some of the things you could be doing to keep you on the safe and narrow over the festive period. But above all, you've got telephone numbers for me, you've got email addresses for me, info@awakeningdawn.com, or vathani@bulimiahope.com. Either one will do. You can mail me your personal questions if I haven't covered them, or cover them in the depth, in details that you would like. Or if you want to take up some actual consultation with me as a session, then you know where to come. And yes, it is a season, but it's not a season to be worried. But it's a season where you can feel joyful, feel hopeful, feel connected, part of the rest of your world and the loved ones that you so need to be. And I wish you a very, very happy festive time and a lovely, positive and a nourishing new year, that you can feel you can start your life again on a very positive place, so that you can claim your life back in the year 2012. I wish you well. Stay tuned for more webinars, but look after yourself. This is Vathani Navasothy from Awakening Dawn and Bulimia Hope. Take care. Bye for now.